quick disclaimer, we are not investigative journalists. We simply read, watch, and listen to whatever we can to satisfy our curiosity while use this information to form our own personal opinions. Do not take this as investigative journalism. This is simply our own rabbit holes.
Hello, friends, and get ready. We're going to talk about the docs, the crimes, and all the people involved. This is Crime and Chill.
Hey guys, I'm Victoria.
I hope you keep that high in.
How are you today, Rachel?
Wait for my snow. We're on snow watch.
We are on snow watch. We could get...
Good thing we recorded in advance, because we'd be screwed.
Yeah, right? So since we're recording in advance, we're actually recording this. It is the 14th of January. We are scheduled to get snow Saturday and Sunday. So we're getting ready. I have my snacks. Rachel has to go get more snacks.
Because my husband sucks.
He just didn't get the right snacks.
His face looks so hurt.
I know. Jeez. She's so mean to you. Are you okay?
She doesn't like my healthy snack options.
Because if we're going to be stuck in the house with snow, we don't want healthy snack options. We want to just pig out and sit and hide out from snow and ice. Because that's what we get in South Carolina. We don't get snow. We're mostly getting ice. Which means the state of South Carolina is going to shut the fuck down.
I mean, okay, so these chips aren't that bad. It's just, I don't know what I wanted, but it wasn't chips.
At least it wasn't Sun Chips.
No, it just wasn't chips.
How can you not want chips? I need to go get some chips because that's the only thing I don't have. I have Pop-Tarts and Oreos and fudge.
That's what I wanted. Popcorn.
But if the power goes out...
Man, you get the popcorn that's already popped in the bag called Skinny Pop.
Okay.
Boom Boom Pow Pop. Whatever that's. Boom Boom Chow? Boom Boom. I don't know. Anyways, we got long cases today, so we better go.
Okay, so, ready for crime news?
I'm ready.
Okay, so parole has been denied for the Robert F. Kennedy assassin, Sirhan Sirhan.
Sirhan.
I don't know if I say that right. S-I-R-H-A-N. California Governor Robert Newsom denied the bond.
Wow.
After he was recommended for parole back in August. He had the support of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Douglas Kennedy, both of the sons of Robert F. Kennedy. Sirhan's been in prison for 53 years at this point. Newsom decided to reverse the parole board's decision after determining that Sirhan poses an unreasonable threat to public safety. A statement from the governor's office said the governor reached his decision based on several factors, including Mr. Sirhan's refusal to accept responsibility for his crime, lack of insight and accountability required to support his safe release, failure to disclaim violence committed in his name, and failure to mitigate his risk factors. So basically, the governor's like, nah, you can't even admit that you fully fucking did it. Keep sitting your ass in prison. You've been there for 53 years. Continue.
I mean, okay, for one, I'm shocked that Newsom decided to hold bond on anyone. But...
Bond, parole, whatever. I don't even know what it is
whatever.
anymore. Also, should have said it first. Bob Saget died, guys.
How did you go from a fucking assassin to Bob Saget?
Tornado brain today, apparently. I've had tornado brain all week. This is not normal for me, but my brain's just refusing to focus. So Bob Saget died. It seems like they're probably looking at heart attack. They said they didn't find any signs of foul play or drug use, which is kind of surprising to me, considering he has a history of it. But, if he's been clean, he's been clean. Good for him. Sucks that he's dead. I'm sad about it. He had some shady shit in the past. I think we can all agree that a lot of our favorite actors from our childhood have had some shady shit come out.
Yeah, I don't care. I still love him.
I mean, messing weirdly with one of the, a Mary-Kate and Ashley doll. It's weird. Let's be honest.
Do we really think that's true if they released a statement? The quietest, huge celebrity twin couple in the world, and they still...
That didn't even have anything to do with Fuller House.
Yeah, and they still released a statement.
But it wasn't physically them, so, I mean, they could have just been like, whatever, and let it go, because I think he was on cocaine pretty heavily at that point.
I don't care. I still love him.
So, we lost Betty White before 2022 started. Freaking, now we got 2022's going, and Bob Saget died, and, alright, this is how we're going.
Do you think it's just because we're getting old where our favorite actors and actresses are just old now, too, and dying?
I mean, Bob Saget was only, 65? That's not that old.
No, that's not that old. That's 35 years older than me. But, it is still of an age where it's not crazy to think someone would have a heart attack at that age. You know what I mean?
Especially with past severe cocaine usage. What are we talking about today, Rachel?
Today's case is one that still haunts a small town in New Jersey. It's been more than 50 years since it occurred. Crazy thing is my mom doesn't live far from this. She says she doesn't remember it. But all over the web, it's still remembered.
Okay.
A family annihilator was not even a term back at the time of this heinous crime, but today we're going to deep dive into the entire story as well as go over the term that was coined family annihilator. A quote from Oxygen.com: family annihilator is a term used interchangeably with familicide. It refers to killing of multiple family members, most commonly the homicide of an intimate partner and at least one child. According to a 2013 study published in the Journal of Family Violence, such killings can often include suicide of the killer as well. But today's case, he was too much of a coward to even do that. So instead, he was just a murderer who got away with it for 20 years. Almost 20 years.
Oh,
That part wasn't a quote from Oxygen.com. That was just me and Rachel's dramatics. The rest of it was, though. So, some of you may have heard of this because it was actually solved by a very big TV show. And it's a very bizarre, twisted, turny case. It's the List family murders. Have you heard of List family?
I've heard of it. Like, it's in my brain and I'm like, that's ringing bells, but it's not like bringing anything to the front of my mind.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. The List family consists of John List. He was the father of the family. His wife, Helen List, John and Helen's children, Pat, Fred, and John Jr., and then John's mother, Alma. And there's a bunch of people that would call Alma like the fat mom.
That's rude.
But make these jokes about her, but I've seen pictures of her. She's itty bitty. I don't know where they were getting this. But anyways.
First of all, don't just call people fat. That's fucking rude.
I know.
Be polite.
Couldn't understand this podcast that I listened to for like 3 hours about this fat Alma. Oh, maybe they were like making a joke about Fat Albert. Now I get it. Maybe I said it like that. But either way, she's not fat.
Maybe, but still, I'm sitting here thinking of like that Dr. Phil episode where like it was the anorexic twins that would they were anorexic and bulimic, and because one of them got called the bigger twin at one point, and they didn't like it. Like, don't do that. Don't compare people. It's rude.
I remember that. They lived in a beautiful 19-room Victorian mansion. The mansion was so prestigious that it had its own name. Like, it was named.
Okay.
Breeze Knoll. On the outside, it looked like this beautiful, happy, very fortunate family.
So Breeze Manor, like
Breeze Knoll.
Breeze Knoll. So was this like breeze, like the breeze of the air, or like breeze the name?
Breeze, like the breeze flies through the air. Yes.
Okay. So looks are deceiving.
Yep, looks are very deceiving.
Because if I looked at the outside of that house, just from you explaining it to me, I'd be like, ooh.
Yeah, except the inside wasn't anything like the outside. Not even in a metaphorical way. There was like barely any furniture. It was very bare. They had this big mansion, but a very cold interior.
Okay. 19 rooms is a lot to furnish.
It is. Before we get into the crime, though, we really kind of know what led up to that day to kind of understand the full story. So John List was born on September 17th, 1925 in Bay City, Michigan. He was born to Alma, who lives with John at the time of her death, and his father, John List Sr. He was raised in a very, very, very religious and strict environment, and his father would die when he was a junior in high school. He went on to graduate high school and entered the U.S. Army, where he served in World War II. After the war, he did go to college for accounting, and he was said to be like the most dull person to ever be known. He was very dry, and numbers was the only thing he really understood. After he finishes his degrees, he goes back into the military and then serves in the Korean War. So this man serves in World War II and the Korean War.
Wow.
Yep. After the Korean War, he meets his first wife, Helen, and Helen had been married before. Her husband died in the Korean War. They had a daughter named Brenda, Helen and her deceased husband.
Okay.
And before the husband dies, he leaves her with more than just a daughter. He also gave her syphilis.
Thank you so much. That's the best passing away present.
Her syphilis was never treated and caused her many health problems all the way up to her death.
As any STD does if you leave it untreated.
Okay. So I wondered how, one, they knew she got syphilis from her dead husband.
Yeah.
And two, how she never gave it to John. So I deep dived syphilis.
I love you for this.
Well, syphilis is not contagious after a prolonged period of time. So her children, as well as John, did not have syphilis. So she had 3 children when she married John. Mm-hmm. Not only did John not have syphilis, but he also didn't know his wife had the disease until shortly before her death.
I feel like that's something you disclose.
Well, wait. She used a variety of different excuses of her declining health. What amazes me, though, is this woman had 3 pregnancies and delivered them. Why was it never caught or treated?
Nobody ever talked about it.
No.
Okay.
Anyways, Helen and John would meet in 1950 and marry in 1951. In an interview with John years later, he would recall that the marriage was planned with the thought that Helen was actually expecting a child, although soon after the wedding she revealed she's not pregnant. Some wonder if it was a ploy to get a ring. I think maybe due to her syphilis, maybe she had a miscarriage or just a late period.
Yeah.
And she had been reported she had several miscarriages during her first marriage, like after her daughter Brenda, which means she probably had syphilis then too. Maybe it was syphilis causing the miscarriages.
Okay, so did she get syphilis though because he was first husband was running around? Is that
Yes.
what happened? Okay, that's what I needed clarification.
John and Helen would move around a lot in the early years of marriage for John's work. He was a meticulous accountant, but he would be fired for every single place he worked at. And each time he didn't just get fired, and most people don't end up with a better job. Mm-hmm. He continued to get better jobs all the way till he was either vice president or president of a huge bank.
Jesus, okay.
Yep. During the time that they did move, they did have, like I said, 3 children, Patricia, John Jr., and Fred. And John raised the children to be just as strict as he was. They were very isolated from the real world. And he tried to control his family with harsh demands regarding going to church and heavily persuading them into activities that only he approved of. So they couldn't do anything that he did not approve of.
Oh, that's fucked.
Yep.
What if they aren't into the same things as you?
So for the boys, they played soccer and had Boy Scouts. And Patricia wasn't given many opportunities other than church.
Okay, Girl Scouts is a thing, though. She could have done something.
Anyways, we'll hear what Patricia decides to do. So in 1961, he makes his final move. His final move before he kills everyone.
Spoiler alert.
If you haven't Googled who John List is by now, I'm sure you did.
I didn't. I was just sitting here listening.
In 1961, he begins working at Xerox, where he really started to live a life of flash and class, and he liked the company expense card, and he and Helen went to Europe on it.
That's a no-no, isn't it?
Well, he wasn't fired for that, but in 1965, he would be fired. But he would be quickly hired as a vice president to First National Bank, and this is wherein he would move his family to Westfield, New Jersey, to that beautiful 19-room Victorian mansion. Pictures that I've seen from the crime scene photos, though, do not give you mansion vibes. Like I said before, it was very dank, little to no furniture, very dusty. They obviously went with the big square footage and not a housekeeper to go with it. It wasn't dirty, it was just, and it could be because the crime scene photos are, anyways, without giving it away, it could be due to the time when the crime scene photos were taken.
Okay.
But there was still no furniture.
But also, if it's a big ass house and you're not going around dusting regularly or
and
just giving it a good wipe, it's gonna...
Yeah, she has syphilis and it causes her face to start drooping, and so she had a lot of medical problems.
So maybe that's why. She had a stroke.
Yep. Okay. So maybe that's why. So they move into the mansion. The mother, Alma, also moves in with them. And they begin living this mansion life. The neighbors were they said he was very weird. He would mow the lawn in a full suit and tie.
What?
Yes, and I didn't put this in the notes that I was writing for, but I gotta tell the story. So, you know how much I love Halloween. It's a big thing where I'm from. So, these kids go trick-or-treating to the List family house on Halloween, and he throws rocks at the kids.
This isn't fucking Charlie Brown where we're giving the kids rocks.
No, he wasn't giving them to him. He was chucking them at him.
That's fucking rude.
Yeah. John would again be fired from this job as a vice president at the bank, but instead of looking for a new job, he just pretended that he still had a job and started to spiral into debt while he dressed in a suit and tie and headed to the train station every morning. And he'd sit there and read the newspaper until he was routinely expected home. What?
Okay.
Now, without income and refusing to draw unemployment due to the idea that state assistance would be a sin and not appropriate, he held his family afloat for a little while by stealing money from his mom, taking out 2 more mortgages on the home, and saying that the kids should get part-time jobs to learn responsibility. In reality, he was hoping to take their paychecks and put it towards their mortgage.
Okay.
This would not be possible today.
No.
This is why it's hard for people to get mortgages. How do you take out 2 more mortgages that are, the first 2 are going unpaid? When the third mortgage was again unpaid. They sent out notice of foreclosure, and John started to plan his out. At first, he contemplated suicide, but in his mind, he believed that suicide was the ultimate sin and that he could never be forgiven. Which
is common.
But if he went with plan B to murder the family, he would have time to be forgiven.
Oh.
Yep.
I don't think that's how that works, sir.
That's.
I
have a lot of religious thoughts on this. You know, it's the same people that commit a sin on Saturday night and go to church on Sunday and give their confession to God, and it's supposed to be okay. I'm sorry, it doesn't work like that. It's like when I tell my kid, there's only so many times you can say sorry, and at the end of after so many times, you're not sorry, you're stupid.
Yeah.
And I don't say it to that extent, but to that extent, you can't do something and expect it to be okay.
Right. Makes sense what you're saying. Does not make sense what he's saying and doing, but.
Yep. Okay. So on the morning of November 9th of 1971, now this is a little over 7 years that he was fired from Xerox, and the spiraling has went to this point. The family began their day like any other day. Nothing was different. The 3 teenagers went off to school. Helen was sitting in the kitchen. John waited until he knew the kids were gone for the day. He walked up to his wife of over 20 years, shot her in the head. The force of the gun was so powerful that it flew Helen's false teeth across the room and sprayed blood everywhere.
My God.
Yeah. He then dragged her body to the ballroom inside the home and laid her on a sleeping bag. After he had his wife's body where he determined was a spot that would be the best, he climbed the stairs to the 3rd floor where he entered his mother's apartment. Alarmed by the sound, his mother asked what that sound was, and John blew it off like he was unaware of it, saying it must have been something outside. He walked up to his mother, he kissed her on the cheek, and simultaneously shot her in the left temple.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's brutal.
He tried to drag her body down the 3 flights of stairs, but was unable to, so he left her there with a towel over her face. That was really gruesome.
That was very gruesome.
Okay.
My God.
I wanted to be as descriptive as possible because he talks about it so nonchalantly, like it was nothing, like this was another day in paradise. And the fact that he was given so many descriptions, I mean, they had a lot of it themselves. They didn't need him to say it, but anyways, he does.
I mean, helpful to just have the full layout from what he says, because then it pieces things together better. I get it.
I mean, 18 years later, but yeah. We'll get to that. So, bad enough that he kills his wife and his own mother. You would think that would be it, okay? Because the kids are at school. Now, the 2 adults are gone that know him, and he's able to leave. But no, he seriously believes the kids were better off dead than to be left with the knowledge that both their mother and grandmother were killed, and goes ahead and sets a plan in motion to kill them as well.
Okay.
Because, children are they're pretty resilient. Like, you would have been better off just leaving them.
Yeah.
So while he's waiting, this is the fucking sick ass part, okay? So while he's waiting for the kids to get home from school, John makes sure to make it look like they were away from home and that there was nothing to worry about. So he writes a letter to his church and a letter to the kids' school explaining that they were caring for an ill family member in North Carolina, which her mother, Helen's mother, was ill and lived in North Carolina. Could have made sense.
Okay.
So he stopped the mail, because back then there was mail delivery, and I wish that was still a thing. I mean, I guess it is with Instacart, but...
What do you mean mail delivery?
Like, they would bring the milk delivery. I said mail. I'm sorry.
Okay,
Milk delivery.
I was like, well, we still have mail.
Yeah,
I know it's kind of slowly dying out, but we still get mail, Rachel.
We still get mail. I'm
okay,
sorry.
milk delivery.
Milk delivery. Because I would just like to see a woman have a man with a milkman. A baby with a milkman. But anyways... he also had the mail forwarded or stopped to be held. After cleaning the kitchen the best he could from the bloodbath that he left behind of Ellen's fatal wound, he makes himself a fucking sandwich and eats it.
Psychopath!
And so in an interview with, I don't remember her first name, her last name is Chung. She's a big interviewer. But Chani Chung, it isn't Julie. Connie Chung. Yep, that's it. Exactly it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
She asked him, why did you make a sandwich? And he goes, well, because I was hungry.
Like, that's a fucking stupid question.
I've seen the interview, and his eye, puts up,
He does the one eyebrow thing?
Like, what are you talking
about? The thing I'm incapable of doing, and I'm really upset about it.
Actually, this is the best I've been doing. I've been practicing all week just to see this in front of you.
I'm impressed, because I can't fucking do it. Clay makes fun of me, because I literally... You guys can't see, but I pull one eyebrow down and then do this, so that way I can do it.
Yeah. So, because he was hungry. Anyways, though, Patty is the first of the children to be home from school that day. Let me tell you a little bit about Patty and why he thought that they were going to be better off dead, because the mother and grandmother were dead, so they wouldn't have any parental figures. She was bucking to daddy and had a boyfriend, and it was an on-again, off-again boyfriend situation. But supposedly, she was also practicing witchcraft. There's been no truth to that. And she wanted to kind of live into a different world than her father approved of. She gets to the house. She meets her father at the door. He closes the door behind her and shoots her. And then he drags her body next to her mother's in the ballroom on top of a sleeping bag and puts a towel. Just
Was it the same sleeping bag, or did he have separate sleeping bags for everybody?
Each one has a separate sleeping bag except Alma the grandmother.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you were meticulous, got it.
Yep. Well, this is just the way he is, too. So after shooting Patty and dragging her body to her mother's side, he waited and repeated this action with Fred. He shot Fred just one time, just the same way. Now, John Jr., his namesake, was the final murder to be completed. John Sr., or the father, leaves. He meets his son up at a soccer game and watched and cheered him on, which was nothing unusual. First off, how is that not unusual? Everything I've read about John is he wasn't a very exuberant person. To be excited and cheering your kid on at a soccer game didn't mix with the other things that John was known for.
Nothing mixes with anything at this point. I'm just fucking flabbergasted.
Yeah, that's true. I just couldn't see him cheering his son on. But anyways, he drives his son home and enters the house, and he attempts to repeat what he had done to the other 4 members to the family. And they don't know if it was just a natural body jerk, or for whatever reason it appears that he is fighting his father after the first round. So John Sr. would fire 9 more rounds into his son's body for a total of 10 shots.
My God.
Yep. Once he was sure John Jr. was dead, he again followed the dragging the body to the ballroom game, laying him on a sleeping bag like he had done for Helen, Patty, and Fred, with a towel over their head. That's just so sad.
First of all, it's sad. Second of all, that's fucking sick.
Yeah. There was the whole thing's sick. There's gruesome pictures. APP News out of New Jersey was able to, back in 2021, so last year, they did a 50th remembering story of the boogeyman of Westfield, is what they called him. They put pictures of the crime scene into this article that you have to put an email. It's a regular news article. You just have to put your email in to read it. But I went ahead and pulled all the pictures out because some people won't put their email in there to see the article. It's a great article. It goes into detail.
Honestly, guys, if that's the thing and like you're worried you don't want your email pulling up, do what I do. Make a separate email that's literally just for that shit, and I don't even bother checking it. It's got like over 2,000 emails in it at this point.
Yeah, no.
It's a throwaway
And
email.
I wouldn't give a source of something that I didn't trust myself using. So just know that it is a very big newspaper in New Jersey. I'm from there. I know the newspaper company there.
So how far from where you're from is this?
About an hour and 45 minutes to 2 hours. This is North Jersey. This could have... So the people that live in this town were typically people who worked in New York.
Okay.
And didn't want to pay New York prices. It's a very suburbia, quiet little, well, supposedly quiet, but we'll get into more how crazy this little town is. But him murdering his family will kind of like start the boogie stories of Westfield, New Jersey.
Okay.
After he completes all of the murders, he then goes around the house and takes every picture that he could find of himself in family photos and rips out his face. And then he burns them all in the grill in the backyard. Why do you think he did that?
He didn't want people to know what he looked like?
Right. So he kept to himself so much that not many people actually knew what he looked like.
I mean, it's smart.
I mean, the stopping the milk, the calling the post office, the telling the kids' schools, the telling the church. I mean, so meticulous.
He's very, obviously, like you said, he is meticulous, but I mean, again, like you said, he kept to himself so much. How many people realistically could describe to a T what this man looked like, except for the fucking people that are dead?
Well, and we say that, but I went back to 1971 newspapers, and there was pictures of him. They knew what he looked like. He had a driver's license. You know what I mean?
Okay. Well, 70s, I don't know how pulling things worked.
Whoa, wait till you feel how pulling things we didn't realize didn't work like that. So he burns all the pictures, and then he goes to sleep. In the interview with Connie Chung, which I had it typed here now, he said that was the best night's sleep best night's sleep he had in years. The stress of the money was no longer on him.
Did he sleep in the house?
Yes.
That night? Oh
With
my
the
god!
dead bodies.
Oh my god!
Sick fuck.
I mean, this is just like a couple weeks ago we were talking about the Maddie Clifton case. He slept on top of her fucking body.
Okay, but that wasn't his daughter. That wasn't his sister.
Wasn't.
That was a girl across the street. This was his wife, his children, and his mother.
What? It's with people and sleeping with dead bodies. Stop it.
I have no idea. Before leaving Breeznell, the mansion that would never be the same, he turned the thermostat down to 50 degrees and put on some creepy organ music. Now, in an interview after he is finally caught, they asked him why he put the thermostat down to 50 degrees, and he said for power costs, not to preserve the bodies, but he didn't want the pipes to freeze, and he also didn't want to pay to heat the house, so 50 sounded like a legitimate number.
You weren't going to fucking pay it anyway if you were on the run.
He didn't want the bank to have to deal with more damage if the pipes freezed. That's what he was worried about, because he knew the house was going to get foreclosed. My face exactly. What the fuck?
Okay, I didn't realize we cared so much about the bank, but whatever. You do you, boo-boo.
So, List had set everything up to make sure he had a good head start. The bodies would not be discovered for almost a month. On December 7th, an officer finally discovered them after repeated concerns from neighbors as well as Patty's acting coach that there was a problem. The way they discovered the bodies, though, could be deemed questionable. The acting coach supposedly finds an open window because there was no suspicion of foul play. From looking at the front door, everything was locked. It looked like they weren't home. Mm-hmm. And they'd put notices out that they were leaving.
Right.
The acting coach didn't believe it because Patty had sworn that her father was going to kill her. Only to the acting coach and to her best friend. And I didn't really understand why she thought that, or, I mean, obviously she was right, but I couldn't really understand.
Maybe because of her rebellion, and she knew he was really mad at her.
But I can say my mom's gonna kill me, but I'm not gonna mean it like she's gonna fucking kill me. When the bodies were discovered, everything was taken evidence, even though they entered the house probably incorrectly. When the officer enters the house, he says it's very dark in there. He can hear organ music still. The record was still playing. Almost.
Did he ever say why he left the organ music playing?
He just thought it was pretty.
Oh, yeah, let's leave music playing for the fucking dead people who can't fucking...
And neighbors recalled that there was lights on occasionally in the house, but they would eventually start turning off. So they don't know if it was like a ghost doing it or what, but he doesn't remember leaving lights on. He also doesn't remember turning them off. The neighbors don't say if certain ones came back on or not, but there were lights on at one point, then there weren't, and it was weird.
Haunted.
Yeah.
Ghosts.
So, while searching the home, they find a letter from John to his pastor explaining not only did he kill them, but why. And I've got a copy of the letter that I'd love to read because what the fuck.
Read it.
Alright. I am sorry to add this additional burden to your work. By set my financial problems and fearing that my family was losing its religious faith. I killed them because of my religious faith and they weren't keeping it. Anyways, he goes on to say he intended to kill them on All Saints' Day, November 1st, because it would be an appropriate day for them to go to heaven. Unfortunately, my travel arrangements were delayed. I prayed for my family from a hymn book. This was the least I can do.
Yeah, that's the least you could have done. Okay. How about not fucking kill him?
You are the only person that I know that while not condoning this will at least possibly understand why I felt I had to do this. It really just goes into that. I mean, he thinks that his pastor is going to be on his side for his deathly deeds because the family was swaying.
No. Motherfucker. The pastor's not going to be on your side. Nobody's on your side. You're fuckface.
Nobody is on your side. He did it for their souls is something he continues to say throughout the letter. The letter was released after the court trial, and if you want to read the full letter with a straight face, I unfortunately can't. I will have it in the resources. I just can't get over, I am very sorry to add this to additional burden to your work. I leave myself in the hands of God, God's justice and mercy. You don't, because you didn't die. You went on the run.
Yeah?
This makes me think that perhaps it was best as far as the children's soul are concerned. And he pretty much pens it along that. So...
See, this is the problem why religion gets bad names. Any religion, because people will use their religion as an excuse to do things. Your religion is not an excuse to be hateful. Your religion is not an excuse to murder. Your religion is not an excuse to do anything that is not nice and peaceful and kind.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
So the letter was so matter of fact. It left chills to the officers at the scene. They would begin the manhunt for John, But John had a month head start, and it would prove to be a hard feat for them to overcome.
Yeah.
John left his car at LaGuardia Airport and took a train and buses to Colorado, where he left his typical accounting career and took a job as a line cook, traded his suits for more casual clothes, and that's how he started his new life. Now, with the car being left at LaGuardia Airport, it made them wonder if he was D.B. Cooper, because D.B. Cooper happened around the same time.
That's a valid thing.
It's not correct. It ends up being found that it's not him. But after a couple of years of not being found, he goes back to his normal life, to the most, pretty much. He goes by the name of Bob Robert Peter Clark and goes to church and lives his accountant life. But I wanted to know how he got the name Bob, and so much so that he was able to get like jobs and stuff. He assumed the name Bob prior to the murders, which means this shows how long he was planning it.
Wow.
Prior to the murders, he went a couple times to the Social Security office and asked for a replacement card, repeatedly telling them that he had lost it, just to see how easy it would be to assume someone else's name.
Mm-hmm.
And so this was before Social Security made it so hard to get a replacement, which is probably people like fucking John List. So now you need.
Why is everybody having problems getting replacements? I go in there, I show them my ID, and I leave.
That's scary. You're not supposed to. You're supposed to show more than your ID.
I think I had to show my ID and like a proof of residence or some shit. Like that was it. That's all I've ever had to show. It's same when I went and got my name changed after I got married. I showed my ID and my marriage license.
Okay, so getting my name changed was easy. And it might not be that hard. It's hard for A, either to get an appointment, or B, it takes for fucking ever. This man was walking in and out of there like it was Coca-Cola candy stop.
I guess I just never have had problems.
Yeah, but I do wonder if you need more now because of John. I don't know.
I don't know.
The life on the run, though, for John was smooth and easy. He never felt bad or regretted it after a couple weeks. He kind of just moved on like it never happened. I don't think he felt bad at all in the beginning. I think in the beginning he was worried about getting caught, and when he realized he wasn't getting caught, that's why he was associating feeling bad. I don't think he was feeling bad. I think he was worried about getting caught.
Yeah.
After several years of completely living this transformed life and re-entering the church, he met a kind-looking woman named Dolores. And I've seen pictures of Dolores. She looks very sweet. He would go on to marry Dolores and again live life as an accountant, working in the church, just like he had used to. Much of the old ways of John, though, he couldn't hold a job. So back being an accountant, he still can't hold a job. Even though he's really good at it, I want to know
why.
Because he had terrible people skills, like working in an office and dealing with rubbing elbows all day. He couldn't do it.
Okay. Fair. Some people can't.
Dolores, pretty much pays for them to survive. She taps into her savings over and over again. And on one of his unemployment kicks, a tabloid news article wrote a story about the family murders, showing a picture of John List.
Ooh.
Dolores' best friend and longtime neighbor reads the article and quickly saw the wanted portrait to match her friend's husband as a spitting image. When the friend presented the article to Dolores, she claimed that it wasn't John List, or it wasn't, at the time, Bob. Mm-hmm. And she said she would show it to him. Well, the next time the friend asked Dolores about the wanted picture, she said that it wasn't him, and she just threw it away. She never showed it to him.
I wouldn't have shown it to him either, though.
I wouldn't have showed it to him in a, is this you? I would have put it on the counter and just let it be seen and be like, can't believe this story.
No, because then she would have gotten murdered.
I don't think so.
I think so. I think he would have killed her if she brought that to his attention.
So, knowing this, though, do you think you would have moved across the country with him?
No.
Okay, then. So, she throws away the wanted picture and tells her friend that, that wasn't him, and she threw it away. But the mountain of debt she was accruing was getting out of control. John finally did get a job, again as an accountant, in Virginia. And he and Dolores packed their bags and they moved to the Midwest, from the Midwest to the East Coast. John would be working this job when the FBI came knocking. So you want to know how the FBI finally found him?
Yes.
Alrighty. So, but last week we talked about Adam Walsh and America's Most Wanted. Or 2 weeks ago at this point, so it'd be 2 weeks. John Walsh is set on getting the fugitives of America off the street.
Yeah, I like him.
Me too.
He's a cool fella.
So 18 years after the family is killed, In 1988, John Walsh starts America's Most Wanted, and originally they didn't want the case. They felt like it was too old.
Yeah.
Finally convinced them at a convention, and the show aired in May of 1988, and many tips would come in, but only they only got one tip about the real John List.
Oh.
And it was just the tip they needed. It actually came from Dolores' friend who had showed her the article those years prior. Her old neighbor's image, again, posted next to what they had made a bust. Which, if you don't know what a bust is, it's... Remember those Barbies that used to literally just be a boobs and a neck and a head?
Yeah, the ones you could do their hair.
Yeah, exactly that.
I loved mine.
So,
I had like 4 of them. They were fun.
I had ones with different color hair. So I had one that was blue hair, one that was pink hair, or regular hair, and probably another regular hair.
Yeah.
But I remember them sitting on my shelf. Anyways.
They all had different hairstyles, and that's when I learned that dolls' hairs don't grow back.
Me too. They actually ended up making a doll that you could pull the hair out. Like, you could pull more out. But after a while, you still ran out of hair. It didn't grow back.
But still, if I made the mistake to cut it, at least then I'd have hair again.
Yeah.
Good to know.
So, Dolores' friend calls the tip in. Because, again, she sees a replica of her old neighbor. And...
she's like, you know what? Dolores isn't doing this. I'm on it.
Well, no, at first, she kind of wonders, like, if she should even call it in. But finally determined that she didn't have any other option. She didn't know what else to do. She just went ahead and made the call.
Yeah.
And at first, of course, the FBI thought it was just another dead end, but it's their job. They have to go look.
Yep.
To their surprise, after meeting John List's wife and confirming the identity of the man that she knew as Bob Clark, the agents divide and conquered, staying with her to make sure she didn't tip them off, and the other one went to his workplace and apprehended him. He did not resist arrest and was quietly removed from his office in handcuffs, jailed in Virginia, and then awaited extradition to New Jersey. After 18 years, he was finally arrested and arraigned and awaiting sentencing.
Wow.
All because of America's Most Wanted.
Yay!
Yep. At the trial, he testified that his financial difficulties had reached a crisis level and that he was laid off, blah, blah, blah. And that's why he thought it was okay to commit the murders. Because he was trying to avoid humiliating developments of his family. I'm sorry. Killing them is better than humiliation? I can't get on board with that. He says he was also dealing with his wife's alcoholism and her untreated syphilis contracted from her first husband. So he's blaming it on everybody but himself. The court-appointed psychiatrist testified that he suffered from obsessive-compulsive personality disorder. This is different than OCD. But it's to the same idea. So OCD, you repetitively do the same thing. His personality was so, only his thoughts mattered.
Yeah.
Only his actions were the right actions. He did not see the other solutions to the situation. He can only see what he thought. I really just don't understand how he thought that was better, but, whatever. On April 12th of 1990, now the murders originally happened in 1971, he was convicted of 5 counts of first-degree murder. At his hearing sentence, he denied direct responsibilities for his actions. He felt that because of his mental state at the time, he was unaccountable for what had happened.
Okay.
Yeah. He asked all that affected to forgive him, and understanding and prayer. The judge didn't care.
The judge was like, fuck you.
He said, and this is from the judge, and in quotes, John Emil List is without remorse and without honor. After 18 years, 5 months, and 22 days, it is now time for the voices of Helen, Alma, Patricia Frederick, and John F. List to rise from their grave.
That was dramatic.
Yeah, no, I felt like I wrote that. Like, damn, that judge was on.
Theatrics, sir, you should go write. That judge should be writing movie scripts instead of being a judge. If you're going to be that dramatic.
Yep, he imposed a sentence of 5 terms of life imprisonment to be served consecutively with a maximum permissible penalty at the time. So that was as high as he could go. All of them had to be in New Jersey, they still don't have the death penalty, so how else could he go any higher?
Yeah.
He did file appeal for his convictions on grounds that his judgment had been impaired by post-traumatic stress disorder due to his military service. He also argued that the letter he left behind at the crime scene, initially confessed with his confession, was confidential communication to his pastor and therefore inadmissible as evidence. The Federal Appeals Court did reject that.
Yeah.
And eventually he did express a degree of remorse for his crimes. He said, "I wish I never did what I did." That's what he told Connie Chung in 2002. "I've regretted my actions. I prayed for forgiveness ever since." Bullshit.
You're a liar.
Bullshit. Yeah, he is a liar.
You don't care that you did it, you care that you got caught.
He believed that killing them would assure their souls into heaven, and he hoped to eventually join them. But he did end up dying in 2008 at 82 years old.
Peace out.
Home Scout. That's it.
Well, damn.
But there's something else I have to talk about, because this story was hugely in the news a couple of years ago. It was all over Good Morning America, and this is what kind of reminded me of the John List case. I don't know why I was thinking about this house. Anyways, there is a house in Westfield, New Jersey. It is 10 minutes walking from the old List residence, which actually burned down a year after the bodies were found. This house was sold back in 2014, I believe, to a couple, the Brodus couple. And within a couple days of purchasing the home, they receive a letter from the man called the Watcher.
I know this thing. I love this thing. I'm obsessed with this thing.
Well, they are convinced that this man is actually watching them due to things that he writes in the letter.
Yeah.
And tries to sue the prior homeowner, saying that they knew of this, never moves into the property, eventually sells the property, and the lawsuits are dropped. But just how weird is that do we really think there's a Watcher?
Yes. Have you read this?
Yeah, I read a bunch of it.
There's no way in hell there's not. It's too fucking creepy.
They ended up taking a huge hit so they bought the house for 1.3 and ended up having to sell it for 1.1. Although they did a bunch of renovations in the house, so that was money they didn't get back either.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Why? There's no way they made this up. Because everyone's like, oh, they made it up. I'm like, there's no way they made this up. They took a fucking hit from it. Why would you make that up and then fucking just take a dive on the money?
How could the other family keep it so quiet that they knew nothing? You know what I mean? Like, if that was happening to me, okay, let's say it's happened to me, obviously I'm going to tell you and somebody else probably.
Yep.
Which means you're going to, maybe not blast it, but have some chitter chatter about it.
Yeah, like, this is the rules. These are the rules, people. If Rachel and I are discussing things, or if you tell me something and you say don't tell anybody, Rachel and my husband don't count.
Like, I just don't understand how nobody came forward to help the Brodus family if these other families knew about it.
Did we ever get confirmation that they knew?
They never confirmed that they knew.
So I'm kind of.
But that's where the lawsuit came from. But like, how did they not know? Like, how did this letter all of a sudden just start coming when they say that they spoke to the old homeowners? They were the watcher. They've been the watchers of the house. They persuaded the old homeowners and communicated with them. There's no fucking way that these people didn't say anything.
That's why I don't think, just based on this, I feel like that's classic manipulation, and he's just whoever's behind this is just trying to make it out like other people knew. But I don't think they did. I don't think it was happening.
I don't think it is a watcher of the house. If anything, it was a creeper to the family itself, not the house. Because the current homeowner bought it.
Yeah.
And lives there.
Yeah.
Happily ever after. The homeowner before it never lived there happily ever after. And it's gorgeous now. I mean, they did a great job. That's the only reason why I was like, what the fuck? But they did a great job. Like, I have it. It's right here.
Yeah, I've seen it.
I mean, it's beautiful.
Fucking gorgeous.
It is a nice.
That's why I said
home.
I don't think they made this up. I don't think this is a weird thing.
But I don't think it was
the
prior homeowner either. I don't know. Either way, they didn't sell it to the prior homeowner. It sat on the market for years because obviously they put it all over
wants
new
to fucking watch.
Yeah.
Move into a house there, somebody's watching you.
Yeah, no. So I'm closing it out there.
All right. Well, that was a ride. That was fucking weird as fuck and crazy and insane. John List was a crazy motherfucker. I think he had more going on than obsessive-compulsive personality disorder, if you ask me, but I'm not a psychologist, so I could be wrong. But that's just me. So, that's where we'll leave it. Alright guys, thanks for tuning in this week. We will see you guys next week. Be sure to follow us on social media under Crime and Chill Podcast. Follow us on the Chickadee Talks, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Join our Facebook group, Crime and Chill Fam, to talk more crime with us. And surprise, I didn't tell Rachel, I started a Discord server.
I saw.
I just randomly pulled up and started a Discord server.
I mean, if anybody would freaking talk to us, I don't care where the fuck they want to talk to us at this point.
Yeah, so we have a Discord server. If you go to our Facebook page, Crime and Chill, you will see it. There is a link to it. Do you think? Come join and talk to us. I gotta put Rachel in it because I forgot. All right.
Yeah, I just don't exist here.
I forgot. I'm sorry.
Anyways, have a great day. Bye.
Bye.